Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop chasing someone, they suddenly start showing up in your life again one day? You're pouring your energy into them, texting, checking in, making the effort, but they're distant, treating you like an option, acting like your presence doesn't even matter. Then you pull back, you stop reaching out, you stop caring, and suddenly, boom, they're right there craving your attention again. Why does this happen? It feels like magic, doesn't it? Like some hidden switch gets. Let's explore why giving someone space can often cause them to return, and how this isn't about manipulation, but rather understanding human nature. This shift in approach can greatly improve your relationships and yourself. Understanding, we'll look at 7 key reasons why creating distance can make someone pursue you. And these aren't just superficial tips. They're grounded in ancient wisdom and psychological principles. The most important thing to grasp is that this isn't about tricks or controlling others. The true power comes from mastering yourself. Creating space isn't just a tactic to make someone long for you. It's about reclaiming your own strength. You demonstrate to them, and more crucially to yourself, that you don't rely on their attention for your happiness. This self-reliance creates a remarkable effect. They begin to feel your absence more deeply than they anticipated. People tend to become complacent. They assume they have you completely understood. They see you as constantly present, readily available, and always willing to help. But when you change this pattern, when you offer them the space of your absence, their comfort disappears, and the relationship dynamics transform. Suddenly, they're not in charge anymore. They begin to question their assumptions about you, wondering if they misjudged you or overlooked something significant. This uncertainty and intrigue are what draw them back. However, it's vital to understand that this isn't about changing the other person. It's about changing yourself. By withdrawing and concentrating on your personal development isn't about grabbing their attention. It's about becoming the best you possible. And that's precisely why they find it hard to resist. People are attracted to inner power, freedom, and self-reliance. Witnessing your success without them makes them desire to rejoin your life. In this video, we'll examine 7 reasons why creating distance makes them return. Prepare yourself, because after watching this, you'll not only grasp why they come back, but you'll also understand how to manage your relationships and your life effectively. Let's begin. Reason 1. The surprise of your absence. Let's discuss the impact of your absence. The initial, and possibly strongest, reason they return after you've distanced yourself is this. People become complacent. They begin to take your presence for granted, believing you'll always be there, always ready. However, when you retreat, when you cease being a constant in their life, it shocks them. It's a jolt that makes them understand how much influence you had. Consider this. When you're constantly available, your worth can decrease in their eyes. It's simply human behavior. We grow accustomed to things and people we encounter daily, assuming they'll be there when needed. But when you provide space, that comfort and security vanishes. It's like removing something they've grown used to. If you abruptly withdraw from someone, they're left confused and bewildered, questioning your reasons. More crucially, they begin to reflect on their own actions, wondering what they overlooked or failed to appreciate. This reaction is described by a wise saying, "We worry more in our thoughts than we actually experience in life." When you create space between yourself and another person, they begin to envision life without you. Initially, they might not register your absence, but as time goes on, their mind races with uncertainties. They picture what you're doing, who you're spending time with, and how you might be evolving. These mental images can be much stronger than the actual experience of your absence, and this can lead to anxiety and their eventual return. When someone takes you for granted, they stop recognizing your worth. Your time, focus, and effort are assumed, not valued. However, when you withdraw and cease providing these things, it generates an emptiness. This emptiness is the key reason they return. They become aware of how much they depended on you, even if they didn't express it before. They begin to grasp the significance of your absence, feeling like they've lost a piece of themselves they didn't realize they cherished. The surprise of your absence triggers this understanding. It's a wake-up call that compels them to reconsider their past treatment of you. This surprise can spark a genuine shift in their actions. Their return isn't due to manipulation, but stems from a newfound appreciation of your importance in their life. So how can you achieve this effectively? How do you to end a relationship honestly? The key is to be purposeful. Don't step back to make the other person long for you. Instead, do it to concentrate on your own life, to mature and develop. When you create distance, they have the opportunity to notice you're gone. But more importantly, you have the time and strength to put into your personal growth. This is where the philosophy of Stoicism is helpful. Stoicism reminds us we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves. You can't make someone recognize your importance or value you, but you can choose how much effort you spend on those who don't appreciate you. By stepping back, you regain that effort and use it on yourself. When you give someone space, you permit them to reach their own understandings. You give them the chance to figure out, independently, what they're missing. And believe me, that understanding is much stronger when it comes from inside them, rather than being something you try to impose. Here's an example from a romantic relationship. Imagine you've been seeing someone for a bit. Initially, everything was wonderful. They were attentive, interested, and made you feel cherished. But over time, things shifted. They began to assume you would always be there, waiting for you to initiate contact, arrange dates, and set aside time for them. Gradually, you became the only one making an effort, while they became the only one making an effort, while they became complacent, knowing you'd always be available. Now, suppose you choose to disengage. You quit texting them first. You stop going out of your way to schedule things. Initially, concentrate on your own life. They might not notice at the beginning. However, as more time passes, they'll begin to sense you're not around. They'll long for the small gestures, like your messages, your care, and your work. This is the moment the surprise hits them. They understand they haven't appreciated you, and now they're rushing to earn back your favor. This isn't a game. It's about demonstrating that your attention and energy are important. When they feel the surprise of you being gone, it makes them face the fact they didn't value you. This is the point they return, prepared to invest the energy they should have been giving you from the start. I understand your concerns. Stepping back is tough because it makes you deal with your own worries. The worry of losing them, of being ignored, of them not caring. But the reality is, if someone doesn't return after you've given them space, they were never going to appreciate you anyway. This action is about taking back your control, not tricking someone into wanting you. If they don't return, it's fine, because you're better off without a person who doesn't recognize your value. But if they do return, it's because they've thought about it and realized how much you meant to them. Imagine a rubber band. The more you pull it, the more pressure it holds. When you release it, it snaps back strongly. Your absence builds that pressure. It grows within them. Imagine someone's mind being pushed to its limit, and when they recover, they finally understand what they've lost. This is a serious moment, so accept it. Don't question it or yourself. The impact of you being gone is strong and real. But this is only the start. We're just beginning. One small action won't change much. You have to stay with me on this whole trip if you truly want to change your life and become someone desirable. So, stop thinking about leaving. You're here to succeed. And to do that, you need to finish this with me. Accept the task of changing your life, becoming stronger, and being the person they can't help but long for. Show me you're ready by writing. Don't take me for granted below. Let me see who's truly committed to this change, because this is just the first part. The reason for this is simple. Interest takes control. Being interested is a strong feeling, and it's a major reason why people return after you've distanced yourself. People are naturally attracted to secrets, to things they don't completely get. When you withdraw, you create exactly that mystery. When you were always around, they felt they knew everything about you. There was nothing new or unexpected. But as soon as you stop contacting them, when you move back and give them room, something important changes in how they see you. That's when their interest takes over. At first, they might not even realize you're gone. They might assume you're occupied or having a bad week. But as more time passes and they still haven't heard from you, they start to think, why aren't they messaging me? What are they up to? Have they moved on? These thoughts start filling the space you used to fill. And the more they think about you, the more they're pulled back to you. That interest builds a kind of pull, a need for them to fill in the blanks. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters when they realize you're no longer as present in their life." Their reaction is driven by curiosity. Their reaction is driven by curiosity. They react to your absence by filling it with thoughts of you. Their mind starts spinning scenarios. Who are you spending your time with? Now, what's changed in your life? Are you happier without them? And it's this whirlwind of thoughts that makes them come back. They want answers. They want answers they want to. Know why you're no longer the person they thought. They had figured out when someone can predict every move you make. They stop being interested. That's why predictability can kill attraction. But the moment you become a little more mysterious, when you're no longer so easy to read, that's when people start to pay attention again. They want to know what's going on. They want to figure you out. And the irony is that in trying to do so, they end up thinking about you more than they ever did when you were fully present in their life. So, how do you do this better? How do you harness the power of curiosity without playing games? The answer lies in living your life fully and authentically. You're not pulling away to create some artificial mystery. You're pulling away because you're genuinely focusing on yourself. You're working on your goals, spending time with people who uplift you, and living a life that excites you when they see that you're no longer prioritizing them in the same way. It creates that curiosity gap, but it's not a trick. It's a natural consequence of you living your life for yourself. Let me give you a relationship example. Imagine you've always been the one to initiate conversations with your partner. You're the one who checks in, makes plans, and keeps the relationship moving forward. But then, one day you decide to stop. You don't send that good morning text. You don't ask about their day. Instead, you focus on your own life. At first, they may not notice. But over time, they begin to wonder, why haven't they texted me? Did I do something wrong? Are they seeing someone else? Their curiosity builds, and before you know it, they're the ones reaching out, trying to reestablish that connection. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing them through your actions that you're not dependent on their attention. When you're no longer predictable, when you're no longer always there at the same time in the same way you force them to re-evaluate how they see you. They realize that they don't know everything about you, that there are parts of your life they no longer have access to, and that sparks curiosity. Now I understand that pulling back and letting curiosity do its work can feel difficult. You might worry that if you're not reaching out, they'll forget about you. But let me tell you this, if someone can forget about you just because you're not constantly in their face, then they weren't truly invested in the first place. The right people, the ones who are genuinely interested in you, will come back. They'll come back not because you forced them, but because their own curiosity drew them back in. Let's use a metaphor. Here, think of yourself like a flame. When someone is too close to the flame, they stop noticing its warmth. But when they step back, when there's some distance between them and the flame, they begin to miss its heat. They start to appreciate the glow, the warmth, the comfort it provides. That's exactly what happens when you give someone space. The distance allows them to see you more clearly, to appreciate the parts of you they took for granted, and their curiosity about why you pulled back makes them want to come closer again. Here's where the real power of this step comes in. When you embrace the idea of letting curiosity work in your favor, you stop needing to chase anyone. You stop worrying about what they think or whether they'll come back, because you understand that curiosity is a natural human response. People will always be drawn to what they don't fully understand. And when you stop being predictable, when you stop being easily accessible, you become that source of curiosity. You become the puzzle they want to solve. So let me hit you with this embrace, this step fully. Don't second guess. Don't worry about whether it's working or not when you give them the gift of your absence. You're allowing curiosity to work its magic. But remember, this is just the beginning. You can't move the needle with one step alone. You've got to stick with me through the rest of this journey if you want to transform your relationships and become the person they can't help. But think about reason 3. You break their comfort zone when you're always available, always there for someone that used to it. They expect you to be around. They stop putting in effort because they think they've got you all figured out. You become predictable, and in relationships, predictability can breed complacency. People get comfortable thinking you're always going to be the one making the first move, planning the dates and putting in the effort. But what happens when you pull back, when you suddenly stop being that safety net they've taken for granted? That's when everything changes. You break their comfort zone. And trust me, this shift is powerful. Here's the truth. People only value what they think they could lose. When someone knows you're always going to be there, no matter what, they stop seeing the urgency to show up for you. But when you remove yourself from that equation, when you stop making their life so comfortable, they feel it, and it hits them hard. Suddenly you're no longer predictable, and the dynamic shifts now. Instead of them expecting you to always be around, they're left wondering what happened. And in that space of uncertainty, they start to re-evaluate everything. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possession, but in having few wants." This applies to relationships too. The person who took you for granted suddenly realizes how little they actually needed from you. Until you weren't there now, their wants kick in. They start wanting the comfort of your presence, the security of knowing you'll be there for them. The very absence of your attention becomes something they crave. It's when you've broken their comfort zone that they start to realize just how much they relied on you. You see, when someone is comfortable, they stop questioning their own behavior. They don't feel the need to change or improve, because in their mind, everything is just fine. But when you pull away, you force them into a position where they have to confront their own complacency. They have to face the reality that maybe they weren't putting in the effort. Maybe they weren't putting in the effort they should have. And trust me, this is where the magic happens when you break their comfort zone. You're giving them the opportunity to grow, to realize that they need to step up if they want to keep you in their life. But let's be real, pulling back isn't always easy. It's tempting to go back to being the one who makes things right, to send that text, to fix the situation. That's because stepping away can feel like you're losing control. But the reality is, you're not losing control. You're taking it back. You're reclaiming your power by no longer allowing yourself to be the one who constantly holds the relationship together. And I know it feels uncomfortable. You might even question if they'll notice, if they'll care. But let me tell you this, they will, when you stop making them the center of your world. It forces them to question why you're no longer as available, why you're no longer showing up the way you used to. And in that questioning, they start to see the gaps they didn't notice before they start to miss the small things, the things they once took for granted. And here's the real kicker: when you break someone's comfort zone, you're not just changing their behavior, you're changing the way they see you. You go from being someone they expected to always be there to someone they now have to earn back into their life. Imagine this. You're in a relationship where you're always the one initiating everything, the plan, hands, the conversations, the effort. It's all coming from you. Over time, your partner gets used to it. They don't have to try anymore because they know you'll always be there. But one day, you decide to stop you. Stop texting, first up, bending over backward to accommodate them, and you start focusing on yourself at first. They might not even notice, but as time goes on, they start to feel it. They miss the effort you used to put in. They start to realize how much of the relationship was dependent on your actions, and that's when they'll come back. But this time, they'll come back with effort. They'll realize that you're not someone they can take for granted anymore. Now, I understand that stepping back can be difficult, especially when you're used to being the one who always fixes things. It's hard to let go and trust that they'll come back on their own. But here's the thing: breaking someone's comfort zone isn't about playing games. It's not about punishing them or making them chase you. It's about giving them the space to realize they need to put in effort too. It's about creating balance, and that balance only comes when they start feeling the discomfort of not having you around. Breaking their comfort zone is about creating a shift in the dynamic of the relationship. It's no longer just you doing all the work. Now they have to step up if they want to keep you in their life. And that shift, that discomfort, will make them come back with a new appreciation for you and for the effort it takes to be in your life. Think of it like this: you've been the warmth in their life, the cozy blanket that keeps them comfortable. But when you pull that warmth away, they're left in the cold. And it's only then that they realize just how much they needed your warmth in the first place. But here's the thing: they don't get that warmth back unless they work for it, unless they prove that they're willing to put in the same effort you've been putting in all along. Now, I want you to take this to heart. Breaking their comfort zone is about showing them that you won't be taken for granted. You're no longer just going to be their backup plan, their emotional safety net. You're reclaiming your value by stepping back and allowing them to feel the weight of your absence. And when they come back, and trust me, they will, it'll be with the understanding that they need to show up for you, not just expect you to always be there for them. But here's the catch: you can't just stop here. Breaking their comfort zone is just the beginning. This is only step 3. And if you really want to see a transformation in yourself and your relationships, you've got to stay with me through this entire journey. You can't move the needle with just one step. So kill those thoughts of clicking away if you're serious about reclaiming your power and becoming the one they chase. You need to stay with me till the end. Accept the challenge to transform your life and drop "Don't take me granted" in the comments. Let me see who's ready to level up. Because trust me, this is just the beginning reason for the fear of replacement. Nothing shakes someone's sense of security like the fear of being replaced. When you pull back and give them distance, one of the most powerful forces that can drive them back is the unsettling realization that you might move on without them. This fear creeps in slowly at first. At first, they may not even notice your absence. But over time, as they begin to see you thriving without their attention, that fear grows stronger, going at them with questions they don't want to face. What if they found someone else? What if they've replaced me? The human mind has a funny way of amplifying insecurities. And when someone starts imagining you moving on, their fear doesn't stay in the realm of possibility. It becomes an all-consuming worry. That fear of replacement is a natural reaction to losing something they thought they could keep forever. When you stop being available, when you no longer give them that attention they were so used to, they can't help but wonder if someone else is stepping into the role they took for granted. Epicus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said it is possible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. In this case, they thought they knew everything about you. They thought they had you secured, that your attention and affection were guaranteed, but the moment you withdraw, that illusion of security shatters, and now they're left with a growing realization. They don't know you as well as they thought they start. Imagining someone else appreciating you, valuing you, and that fear hits them like a wave. They didn't expect it, forces them to reflect on their actions, and more importantly, their inaction. The fear of replacement is deeply tied to human nature. We crave what we can't have, and nothing is more desirable than something we fear losing. When they start imagining you moving on, that fear of you being happy with someone else pushes them into action. Suddenly, they're thinking about all the times they took you for granted, the moments they ignored your efforts, and the care they didn't reciprocate, and now the thought that someone else could be stepping in, giving you what they failed to provide, becomes unbearable. It's not just the idea of someone else being with you. It's the fear that someone else will treat you better, see your value in ways they couldn't. The fear that this new person will appreciate the qualities they once ignored. And that's a blow to their ego when they start imagining you in someone else's arms, being valued that way they should have valued you. It stirs something deep inside them. This fear becomes a catalyst for them to make a move, to come back and reclaim the place they once held in your life. But here's the thing: they can't just walk back in like nothing happened. Your absence has already shown them that you're not waiting around now. Let's get real. Imagine you've been putting in all the effort in a relationship, sending the texts, making the plans, showing up for them, and in return they've grown comfortable, complacent, even distant. Then, one day, you decide to stop texting, first stop going out of your way, and focus on yourself. At first, they might brush it off, thinking you'll come back like you always do. But as days go by, they start to notice, they start to wonder what's going on. Why haven't they reached out then? The fear starts creeping in. Have they found someone else? Are they spending time with someone new? And that fear is like a ticking time bomb. It grows with every day they don't hear from you. Every Instagram post they see of you looking happy, living your life. And before they know it, they're consumed by the idea that they're being replaced. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if? They don't care. What if they're fine without me? But here's the truth. If they ever had any real feelings for you, this fear will hit them harder than you realize. Because deep down, nobody wants to be replaced. Nobody wants to think that someone else is taking the place they once held in your life. And if they're not coming back because of that fear, then they were never worth your time to begin with. The fear of replacement is not about manipulating someone into coming back. It's about reclaiming your own worth. It's about showing them that you're not afraid to move on, that you know your value, and that you won't wait around for someone who doesn't appreciate you. When they feel that fear, they come back because they realize they made a mistake. They realize they made a mistake. They realize they're on the verge of losing something valuable. Now let's hit hard with some reality. Embrace this step with full confidence. This is about showing the world and yourself that you don't wait around for anyone who doesn't see your worth. When you pull back when you let them feel the fear of losing you, you're creating space for them to realize just how much you meant to them. But you can't stop here. This is just one part of the journey to reclaiming your power. Stick with me through this entire process, because transformation doesn't happen with a single step. It's a full commitment. So kill those doubts. Stay with me, and let's finish what we've started if you're ready to reclaim your power and ensure that no one ever overlooks your value again. I want to hear from you. Drop "I'm unstoppable" in the comments and show the world that you're done waiting for anyone's validation. This is your moment to rise, to own your worth, and to step into the life you deserve. Let me know you're with me on this journey, and let's transform together. Reason 5, your confidence becomes magnetic. Confidence is one of the most magnetic forces in the world. When you give someone distance, something incredible happens. You start to grow, and that growth is powered by your newfound confidence. Confidence isn't loud or boastful. It's a quiet, unshakable belief in yourself. It's the moment you realize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel complete. And when you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to glow in a way that others can't ignore. As you focus on yourself, investing in your goals, passions, and self-improvement, you radiate an energy that is undeniable. People are naturally drawn to those who know their worth and aren't afraid to stand on their own. The person who once took you for granted begins to notice that you're not the same anymore. You're not chasing after them or looking for their attention because you found something more powerful, your own strength. This shift in dynamic is what makes your confidence so attractive. The person who thought they had you figured out is now left wondering how you became so self-assured, and that curiosity pulls them back in. They realize that you're no longer dependent on their validation, and that's when they start craving your attention again. Confidence isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about fully embracing who you are and owning it. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic you become, and the more they realize just how much they underestimated you. Reason 6. The scarcity principle. When something is easily accessible, it's often taken for granted. The same applies to relationships. If you're always available, always present, your presence becomes routine, predictable. But when you pull back, when you create distance, something remarkable happens. You become scarce, and scarcity creates value. The less they can have of you, the more they'll start to crave you. This is the power of the scarcity principle. When you limit your availability, it forces them to reevaluate how much they value your time and presence. Suddenly, your attention is no longer guaranteed, and they begin to realize just how much they relied on it. It's human nature to want what we can't have, and by making yourself less available, you're triggering that instinct within them. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing that your time and energy are valuable, that you're not going to give it freely to someone who isn't reciprocating. When they see that they no longer have the same access to you, it sparks a desire to work harder to earn your attention. It sparks a desire to work harder to earn your attention. It's a shift in power, one that makes them recognize your worth in a way they didn't when you were always around. But here's the key. This shift has to be genuine. You're not pulling back to manipulate them. You're doing it because you've chosen to prioritize yourself. When they feel the scarcity of your attention, they'll realize they can no longer take you for granted. And that's when they'll come back appreciating what they once overlooked. Reason 7. The realization of what they've lost. Let's talk about the most powerful force that makes them come back after you've given them distance, the realization of what they've lost. This is the moment when everything finally hits. Then, the moment they start to reflect on your abs, and it dawns on them just how much you brought into their life. It's not immediate, it takes time, but once they start piecing it together, the weight of that realization becomes undeniable, and they can't ignore it any longer. When someone is accustomed to having you in their life, they often don't fully appreciate what you do for them. Your presence becomes a backdrop to their everyday routine, and they take it for granted. They get used to you, always being there, supporting them, listening to them, and offering your time and energy. But here's the thing, when you give them distance, it's like taking away a part of their world they didn't even realize was so important. Suddenly they're left without your emotional support, your attention, and your presence. And that void, it's impossible to ignore. At first, they might not even notice you're gone. They might think you're just busy or preoccupied, but as the days go by, that empty space you left behind starts to become more noticeable. It's the small things, those texts you used to send, the effort you used to make the conversations you initiated. All of that is gone now, and without it, they're forced to confront a new reality. You were giving them more than they realized, and now they miss it. This ties into one of the core principles of Stoicism. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Socrates. They had your presence, your time, your energy, and yet they didn't value it when they had it. Now that you've pulled away, they're confronted with the harsh reality that they didn't appreciate what they had. And here's the truth. They will only truly understand your worth when you're no longer there for them. Let's be real, when someone realizes what they've lost, it's not just about missing your company or your attention. It's about recognizing the deeper impact you had on their life, the emotional support, the stability, the love and care you provided. They start to replay all those moments in their mind. It's almost as if they're rediscovering all the reasons they were drawn to you in the first place. But now those memories are tinged with regret because they know they took it for granted, and that regret is what drives them to come back. Imagine this. You've been there for someone through thick and thin. You've offered your support, helped them through tough times, and invested your energy in the relationship. But over time, they became distant, maybe even complacent, and stopped appreciating your efforts. Then you decide to pull back. You stop reaching out, stop making plans, and start focusing on yourself. They may not notice at first, but eventually they start to feel the absence of your presence. They miss the comfort of knowing you were always there. They miss the way you made them feel, understood, and that's when they realize just how much they've lost. The realization of what they've lost is powerful because it forces them to look inward. They start questioning themselves. How did I not see this before? How did I not see this before? How did I let them slip away? And that inner reflection stirs up emotions they can't ignore. They regret not valuing you when they had the chance. And now they're faced with the possibility that it might be too late. But here's the key. You're not pulling back to punish them or to make them feel bad. You're pulling back to reclaim your energy, to focus on yourself, and to let them come to their own realization. Naturally, if they come back, it's because they've truly recognized your worth, not because you force them to. And that's where the real power lies. They come back on their own, fully aware of what they almost lost. So here's the deal. When you give someone distance, you give them the opportunity to reflect you. Allow them to come face to face with the reality that they've taken you for granted. And when that realization hits, It's like a wave of clarity washing over them. They finally see you for who you are and all that you've brought into their life now. I want you to understand something you can't stop here then. Realization of what they've lost is a powerful force, but it's just one step in reclaiming your power and transforming your relationships. Don't let this be a temporary win. If you want to see lasting change, you need to stay with me through the entire process. This journey isn't about making them miss you. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. So stick with me. Let me know that you're ready to embrace your worth by dropping "I'm unstoppable" in the comments. Let's keep pushing forward together, because this is just the beginning.